Welcome to your magical moon message for the moon in Libra, sun in Scorpio. This is your boy, the Peace Dealer, and we are in one of the most powerful balsamic phases that we're going to have this year. This is transcending the nature of balance and receptivity to your social interactions and your own social impact in this world that you'll be releasing in preparation for one of the most controversial, epic, supernatural, and pure new moon cycles, especially in Scorpio, that we will ever step into. And when you think about these cycles that we're stepping into, you want to think about these cycles relative to Jupiter that's finishing out in Aquarius and Pisces. So it's not that we're just having a new moon in Scorpio. It's that we're having a new moon in Scorpio with Jupiter in Aquarius. Because we had a new moon in Scorpio with Jupiter in Scorpio. And we had a new moon in Scorpio with Jupiter in Aries. Remember that? That was like what, 2011? That was a pretty wild time. Saturn wasn't even in Scorpio yet. And we had no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes, versus now where we have gone down the rabbit hole, down even more rabbit holes, down even more rabbit holes. And we're getting ready next year to go down even another rabbit hole, which is going to be the rabbit hole of all rabbit holes. But enough about this talk about rabbits. This is and holes. This is very important because this balsamic phase relative to the end of this Jupiter cycle, which is invariably bringing the beginning of the end of the world. Here's a friendly reminder, we are in the apocalypse. The unveiling is here. This is going to considerably transcend the nature of your relationships forever. And there's so many key aspects here. I might have to start extending these moon messages to like 30 minutes or an hour. That's originally what it was going to be, but I have the 15-minute limit on Instagram. So that's kind of why I just keep to these limits so I could post it here on YouTube. But other than that, there's many layers. There's many distinctive layers to a transit like this. On one layer, you are now fully stepping into a definitive transformation in the way that you induce and incorporate supernatural phenomena into your relationships with other people. So that's stuff like you are thinking about the word giraffe and then your friend next to you says the word giraffe. You're now linked in this cloud, this literal Piscean Aquarian collective cloud, linking the collective through your individual experience while having a social interaction. Then on another layer, you're incorporating and integrating supernatural abilities into your relationships with others. So that's like my good friend Bokeem, who let me know he started reading tarot, and I asked him if he can give me a reading, and he gave me a reading, and he felt like maybe this is my first time, so don't necessarily like bash me. And that reading was insightfully accurate. Obviously, the first time I've ever seen tarot be read was from an Aquarius male, and he's an Aquarius male, so I'm not surprised that he's natural at it. But and if he comments and you see him in the comments, Bokeem, hit him up. He's lit. But once again, this in an instance is incorporating this supernatural ability of divination into our interpersonal interaction. Nothing that hasn't necessarily happened the past few years, but now leading forward is a much more veritable factor where there's no longer any more, dead space through doubt or blocking out the potential of such an experience by just not being informed on what it is. This is going to change the literal game coming into Sagittarius, and also maintaining the game that's been changed through Virgo, mastering the behavior of your techniques, talents, and abilities. So with that being said, the other layer of this is transcending all the insecurities, especially with moon opposite Chiron and Aries, that you've ever had, and bringing your more authentic, original fire and self into relationships. Especially if you think that Scorpio is Aries' 8th house and Aries is Scorpio's 6th house, this integration of a new level of your authenticity will make you keenly receptive towards what social cues, faux pas, and reactions to your own individuality influence how you change, how much more you take action with other people, or adjust that for more effectiveness. But honestly, all I really want to talk about is the fact that like you're stepping into a divine aspect of your own supernatural ability that's going to prepare for the next cycle, this new moon, that will completely transform the entire nature of how you harness energy in these more intimate social gatherings and interactions with yourself and other people. You'll be able to feel more deeply the energy at play and the subatomic influences at play, making this quite a quantum new moon cycle of epic proportions. And so even though we begin that cycle in a couple days, it's this moon in Libra in preparation that is very realistically going to bring you the final piece of the puzzle that may explain how you have been blocked, perhaps, as you change spiritual beliefs around hidden secrets of partnerships you have with certain people, and are also unveiled more clear the divine connections you have with certain soulmate contacts and deeper extra dimensional and multi-dimensional aspects of your own being and self. This is gonna get hella Star Wars up in here, and the real question is, are you a master of the Force? If you're still a Padawan, becoming a Jedi, that's totally fine. Maybe you're a Dark Lord and you're turning to the Sith. But understanding of the Force, especially in Libra, relative to your own intellectual mastery of intertwining your thoughts and mind with your physical body and your soul, is going to have you passionately exert a greater way to present this. And a lot of the insight you come into will release old superstitions and also so much transcendent wisdom towards the greater development of your relationships. So many of you might feel stuck. Many of you may know that you have certain connections with people that transcend reality, but you're trying to approach these connections in a third dimensional way that your parents taught you or your parents' parents taught you. Imagine you recognize that you're a leader of a new world and a new generation, and you're still trying to do it the way your parents did it. And that's really just Stockholm Syndrome. There's great wisdom that you've learned from your parents. It's just unfortunately all that belongs in the trash can. And that's really hard to accept because you're instilled with this sense of tradition and honoring family. And so the fact that, hey, your parents are your parents' parents and their parents' parents not only got it wrong, but misled the fuck out of you. You know what I'm saying? It's hard when there's that sentimentality. And, you know, it's not like all of them did this on purpose, but being that they represent old world ideals, you're going to understand on a transit like this how everything you've learned regarding from society is actually the reason why you're still held back, and how in the alignment of these social expectations which require you suppress and compromise your real self, that's what's shooting you in the arse. Okay, because in order to break through this, many of you have to legitimately rebel against societal expectation and traditions that your family painstakingly left for you. And I don't mean to say this to disrespect your parents, but think about what Jesus said. Hey, my dude, if you don't even really hate your parents, you're not gang. Like, you can't follow me. He's not telling you to hate your parents, but he's just saying that your passion and zeal for this Christ conscious path has to be so strong that you even hate the people that the same 10 commandments say you should honor. Okay. Or if they get in between that, you should be able to, right? But outside of that, this is very important because some of you, and of course, take the wisdom you've learned from your parents. There's all sorts of wisdom, but really, really examine how, as well as it means, it holds you back. It holds you back because they're giving you advice in an era that doesn't exist anymore. Their parents existed in the era they did, but none of your parents had this technological explosion like we do. So like, you know what I mean? Like it's gonna really come. It's really gonna be made clear. But I'm saying this because many of you are being led to establish supernaturally divine relationships with people, and you keep trying to do it the 3D way. You know you have telepathy, and I mean just you personally. You know you have telepathic ability. You know you have psychic ability. You know you have supernatural powers and ability that even though you're just unlocking, and getting to know, you have. And yet you're trying to do things the normal way instead of take a risk and build new neural pathways towards a more unconventional nature of developing relationships with people. And a lot of you have felt stuck for so long. You feel like if you let this part of you out, then the people who you feel like you love are supposed to love you won't love you back, which is an indicator that you're not meant to be with that person. If being with anybody makes you feel like you have to be less of yourself, or maybe you have to be a certain version of yourself so they would accept you, look at me, no matter how much of a crush you have on this person, no matter how much you swear this person is your soulmate, that person's not your soulmate. Soulmates are not meant to like coddle you and enable all your bad habits and all the worst parts of you. They're meant to challenge you. But at a basic fundamental level, there is a soul understanding, mutual, where you are able to be yourself. Someone is not a soul. I'm talking about, and you'll be surprised, like a lot of people may not acknowledge many soulmate counterparts come in the form of beefs, because conflicts and clashes with other people shape your character. You can really tell a lot about who a person is by their enemies, and by, shout out to Tyler Carly, and by also how they handle their conflicts with other people. And so you may have a soulmate connection with someone who you hate and hates you, but you're your real self when you clap back at that person, and they're their real self too. They may hold back with other people, but when they go off on you, they're more of themselves. That's a soulmate connection. But we have romanticized the shit out of this so much that we put this one lens on it and expect it to look this one way. And many of you are caught in this trap of trying to look a certain way to impress who you want to be your soulmate, instead of opening up to who actually is your soulmate. They may not be your type. They may not actually look the way you want them to, but they actually help you feel more accepted and develop your soul more than ever. And this is where some of you need to be honest. Some of you don't want soulmate relationships. You just want romantic compatibility and love. You just want that D. Or you just want the vagina. And it's okay to admit that. A lot of you don't really want these soulmate partnerships because they don't look like this Hollywood romanticization that you so desperately crave. A lot of them seem boring. It's a lot of soul work. It's a lot of recognition. And it's not always going to be that fantastic, snazzy, exciting thing, because you got to put in the work. And a lot of people don't want to put in the work. They want to just meet the right person, fall in love, and then it magically works, and then they wonder why they're still single. And I'm calling out like over 80% of you motherfuckers watching this, myself included. So it is what it is. And outside of that, you're going to finally, during this balsamic phase where Pluto really kill old feelings around old expectations societally about what you expect or what other people expect or what you deserve and other people deserve. And this is going to align you so much more authentically with the right people who you're ready to step into this new deepening cycle with. And it's going to unveil so much wisdom and mysteries that made it hard for you to understand why you have certain special connections with people, but begin the process of unveiling more the deeper wisdom and meaning of them. And most importantly, unlock at a fuller level actual supernatural power. And that's the last thing I'm going to say. You have superpowers. You have awakened superpowers. You have activated superpowers. You have understood superpowers. And through Virgo season, you have mastered superpowers. And Libra season enabled you to start a whole new cycle with other cool people who have superpowers that you're connecting with. And then Aquarius season coming soon, you're all going to be in a clique. And you're like, oh my God, we're like the Justice League. Shout out to Mark Phillips. We ain't explaining shit no more. We're the new Justice League. And if only you know how real that skit is. If only you know how real that skit is. You know, that's why one of my favorite skits ever, because it's a joke, but it's not a joke. It's not a joke. Okay? And so now we're in Scorpio season, where you are definitively breaking through this advent of, with Uranus controversial natures in your own actionability. The reason why this is controversial is because you are applying and exerting action that most scientists alone say only exists in science fiction. But here you are doing this. I've been told divination isn't real, but Bokeem read 3 cards that exactly spoke to what I'm going through, and there's no way he'd know if he didn't know. So I gotta end this video right here. Y'all stay blessed. Peace.